to stop the killing of the vaquita, we have to take down those traffickers. The whole thing stinks.
It is corruption all the way. Who is El Chapo of the Totoaba?
There's some really bad guys here. They don't want to see us succeed.
If we don't save the vaquita, we will lose the most beautiful places on the planet. I keep thinking about the moment when only one vaquita will be left in the wild.
This is a war against the extinction of a species.
We have to hold on to the hope that it's going to work.
The poachers are unacceptable. They'll take any means necessary.
Clock's ticking.
We will fight for every single life. We won't stop.
Okay, so that movie is available on, well, it's on YouTube for $6, and I bought it, and then, as I told you, I can't show it to you, and so I'm going to go to Plan B and show. Since I finished my lecture material kind of early. And I wanted to show this film, and I thought I could. And so I'll just improvise here. So this is here's some news that just came out this month, that the endangered porpoise isn't doomed. As long as we stop killing them. Okay, so that population of small porpoises, they call it a small whale. I don't, but you know, in the documentary, but it's also a porpoise apparently. Lives in the Sea of Cortez. I'm gonna go get a couple of slides. Let's make this that I'm selecting here a verbal underline, inbreeding, about inbreeding, because it's an important concept in biology that inbreeding occurs in populations that have declined to small numbers. When the population increases again, defective mutations are commonly seen. So yeah, just this part here, and then I'm gonna go, whoops. I'm going to pause my share, but you will still see this, and you can, because I want to show some photos that I haven't looked up yet of when I was able to camp, okay, I can share it now. I can't camp anymore. My paraplegia has gotten to the point where I just can't do all this stuff for camping. But this is right where they filmed. This is San Felipe on the Sea of Cortez, and I was going down every Christmas. I guess I might be able to get one of my brothers to take me down this next Christmas. But I could camp right on the beach of the Sea of Cortez, and so right out here is where they filmed that entire thing. And this is, I've never seen a vaquita because there are only supposed to be a dozen remaining. So I did talk about the tortillas and the biology and the niche niche tamal process. And down in Mexico, you can go find these tortillerias that actually, here's the corn, the bags of corn that they get, and then they boil it with limestone, and which is the niche tamal process, and then they wet grind it into masa and make the tortillas. So just about every large town or small city has a tortilleria that you can find that makes the tortillas from this process. All of the others just buy maseca, which is the tortilla flour that already has had the niche tamal process, and then they make masa, and then they dry it into flour, and it's not as flavorful as the originals. So I would go to down in San Felipe. That I would go to those this tortilleria and get my tortillas. So anyway, this is just by way of showing you, that it's really a great place to go camp and visit. And the thing is that the crime, the illegal fishing was going on right around me, but they don't bother people. They don't bother people camping or tourists. They know that the tourist industry is extremely valuable, and you don't get bothered. And and I should have a photo here, though, of smoke rising from San Felipe, but I want to talk about this in Nopal first, where the fishermen, well, let's let me get back to that. This is Nopal, and I told you about that. It's a cactus, the opuntia cactus that you see all around. And if you go to grocery stores, most of the grocery stores have, especially in areas where there Mexicans live, they or people of Mexican descent, you can find packages of nopal that are already cut up. They take the spines off. I like to buy them the whole. It's known as a penca. Cut it up, and then here I'm camping. This is hot dog, and just saute it with hot dog or egg or whatever. Okay, so here, some girls have found one of the illegal nets.
An illegal net
that has washed
that
up.
Is used to decimate the population of Totoaba and has very likely extincted the Vaquita marina, the endemic porpoise, the smallest porpoise, and I believe the smallest cetacean that lives in the upper Sea of Cortez. The fishermen catch this Totoaba fish, which they earn about, they were earning $5,000 to $10,000 for each one for the bladder to go to the Chinese medicinal market. That has been, I believe, pretty much shut down, because out there you can see the about 2 years ago they brought in the Navy. The Mexican Navy came in to support the government officials, the Marine police, the Sea Shepherd Society with their ship had been struggling to collect nets, and they were threatened with the fishermen rebelled. They burned the vehicles a couple of years ago of the Mexican Marine Police. They were threatening to attack the Sea Shepherd ship, and it was out there about where the Mexican Navy ship is, and these fishermen next door who were, very rebellious, very angry. You couldn't really discuss the issue with them. They said they're going to blow up the ship, the Sea Shepherds, and the next morning, the Sea Shepherd was gone from that place. They had obviously heard what was going on. The Vaquita marina, the little porpoise, is probably extinct from drowning in the nets. These nets that these girls just piled up, that are still used by some, I guess, to catch the totoaba.
Okay, so that so the fishermen have fished here for 100 years, more than 100 years, and they have families, these fishing families that have depended on. But the what they found was that the nets that they were using were drowning these porpoises, the Vaquita marina. And so the Mexican government banned the use of these nets in the northern third of, I think, the northern half of the Sea of Cortez, or perhaps the entire Sea of Cortez, I'm not sure, but the Vaquita lives in the northern half, and so the fishermen rebelled, and they actually, I think it was shown in the that trailer of the riots that that happened. This is where I'm camping here. There's then it curves, the land curves around like this, and San Felipe is over here. And they rioted, and I have a photo here of more of my nopal food with tortillas, camping food. Okay, so San Felipe is over here. I'll just go through these. These are a lot of these are just, see, this is a video. Very pleasant place to go in from November to March or April. It's very, it gets really hot from about now until the local dogs adopt my campsite. These are puppies. Somewhere along here I have, there it is. Okay, so the fishermen rebelled and burned. They actually burned the boats of the Mexican Federal Marine Police. Things are different down in Mexico. And they, because this trade is so lucrative for this fish called totoaba, because it has a very high value. Each fish was fetching the bladder, the swim bladder, in other words, allows fish to go down or up, you know, in the water, in the air bladder, was getting $5,000 each for the Chinese, in this Chinese market, because these bladders are considered to be a delicacy that is also medicinal. And although it's never been shown, it's just traditional. There must have been totoaba in other parts of the world that they extincted, and so they are just buying them from wherever they are. And so in that trailer, they showed the totoaba, and I guess we could do that again, because now you're more aware.
I have visual on their ship.
This is organized crime.
Mexican narco traffickers call totoaba the cocaine of the sea.
So it's so valuable that the narco traffickers had been in charge and taken over the trade. And so these fishermen go out and they catch one or two. I don't know how many per week they would catch, but they were getting, anywhere from $5,000 per totoaba with these nets. But the problem was that the nets were drowning the vaquita, which 2 years ago when I was there, it was believed that they were extinct. I think that has been now, they're saying that there's maybe still a dozen or two remaining of the vaquita porpoise.
The fishing of the totoaba by Chinese traffickers and Mexican cartels is killing the vaquita. The vaquita is getting extinct.
There were 100, and then there were 60, and now there's fewer than 30.
Come on, sweetie. Come on, mama.
To stop the killing of the vaquita.
So the rescuers, who were a mix of Mexican environmental people and U.S. scientists, tried to capture a female. They captured a female vaquita, and in order to start a captive breeding. Captive breeding has worked for many species to rescue many species. Let's make that a verbal underline, that captive breeding has rescued a number of wild species that would have gone extinct. An example is the California condor, okay? The California condor. And down in Southern California in Ventura County, up in the mountains, they have rescued and then bred and then released these condors. All right, so that is the verbal underline, and I'll go on now. You don't, and so these condors have recovered, and they actually raise them with using gloves that look like the mother, an adult, and then they release them. So there's been a lot of success in captive breeding of highly endangered species. So they captured this one vaquita, and then I think they made a mistake by not injecting it with a sedative when they saw that it was traumatized, and that young female just died, just swam around in the net and died, and they, from the trauma. And so they gave up. They're not even going to try now any captive breeding. I think it may have worked if they had used a mild sedative and had someone there who knows about how to do that with dolphins and porpoises, but they didn't.
Come on, sweetie. Come on, mama.
To stop the killing of the vaquita, we have to take down those traffickers. The whole thing stinks.
It is corruption all the way. Who is El Chapo of the Totoaba?
There's some really bad guys here. They don't want to see us succeed.
Okay, so this is all San Felipe where I camp, but when you go down there, you just don't, you don't see any of this unless you get word and go to where it is. And they don't bother. They didn't bother me, and I was actually camping right next to an area where there were fishermen who would bring in their catches, but they don't bother tourists or campers.
If we don't save the vaquita, we will lose the most beautiful places on the planet. I keep thinking about the moment when only one vaquita will be left in the wild.
This is a war against the extinction of a species.
We have to hold on to the hope that it's going to work.
The poachers are unacceptable. They'll take any means necessary.
So I showed in my little video, you could see the ship out there that we just showed.
They'll take any means necessary.
That one, that's the Mexican Navy. And so it's out there constantly. But as they show in the Sea of Shadows movie, that there's just vast corruption all the way up to the top police officials. The Mexican Marines, though, are famous actually so far as I know, being the least corrupt and the most effective fighters of the narco traffickers. And you can, I haven't had an update on that in the last year or so, but that has been the case. And so this is the Mexican Navy, part of the Marines.
Clock's ticking.
We will fight for every single life. We won't stop.
So these are the fishermen going out in their panga. This is called a panga boat. And that was, my camp spot. This was just what it looked like. I'm not sure, this could have been anywhere, but this is exactly what it looked like. And my camp spot was just 50 yards to the right. And they would put in and come out, and I would talk with them, but you didn't want to ask them anything about what they were catching or, pry in any way, and best just to sort of keep your head down in that situation. Okay, so let's see, where was I? Anyway, this is one of the protests that the fishermen, and it's all portrayed in that movie Sea of Shadows. The Mexicans, when I started camping down here 30 years ago, back in the 80s, 35 years ago, it was only North Americans and, you know, Canadians. But now the Mexicans from Mexicali and Tijuana, they come to camp in, and it's really fun because I can get to know them. They had this couple has a daughter, and you know, up there looking down, and they would always offer me their food. So that was that's one of the really fun experiences. Mexico is a fun place to go. Mexicans are very gregarious. In other words, they you know, are easy to get to know and talk with. Shrimp are one of the things you can buy, fresh shrimp down there. Yesterday I wanted to go to the Whole Earth Festival, and these are old hippie. This is what your grandparents, if they were hippies, they would wear these. They would make these these jeans into the bell bottoms with these colors, and so we have a hippie festival, the Whole Earth Festival. You can let me know if anybody went. It's me a couple of years ago. So I camp on the way. This is down in the desert. I just just have a little stove here. Heat my tortillas right on the flame and eat on the way down. All right, that's the last one. Okay. So here in the text box, let's make that a verbal underline. Captive breeding has been successful in rescuing highly endangered species. And then we had the one about inbreeding. One example of inbreeding was you may have heard of the legendary mutiny on the Bounty, which was back in the mid to early 1800s, a ship going to Australia, I think, British ship, sailing ship, had an extremely sadistic captain. And so the crew, at least half of the crew and passengers mutinied and sent the other half in a small boat. Let's see, what did they do? Sent the captain and the crew in a small boat. There are a number of movies about this. Mutiny on the Bounty is a famous movie. And then the remaining ones went to an island. I believe it was called Pitcairn Island or Norfolk in the South Pacific. And there were about, I guess, about 30 or 40 people. And they established a colony there. And they interbred, and there was such a small population that they are famous for their genetic defects, because it had an situation of inbreeding of people breeding and you know, having children with or marrying between, you know, cousins and people who were too closely related. Okay, so any questions or comments? Anybody ever watched that movie, Mutiny on the Bounty? All right, let's just look and see what this, since I'm sort of improvising here, let's see what this movie shows us.